The year was 2167, and the deep space exploration vessel Stellar Pioneer was on a routine mission to the distant star system known as Vega 9. The crew, consisting of 12 highly trained astronauts and scientists, was tasked with studying the system's planets and searching for signs of extraterrestrial life. Captain Emma Blake, a seasoned spacefarer with over a decade of experience, led the mission. The crew included Dr. David Hunt, a brilliant xenobiologist, Dr. Anna Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, Lieutenant Sam Carter, the head engineer, and Dr. Rachel Wu, an expert in astrobiology. The team was excited about the prospects of their mission, eager to uncover the secrets of Vega 9. But as they approached their destination, the Stellar Pioneer detected a strange signal emanating from a nearby asteroid belt. Intrigued and cautious, the crew decided to investigate, unaware that their curiosity would unleash a nightmare beyond their comprehension. The Stellar Pioneer adjusted its course and approached the asteroid belt. The signal grew stronger, emanating from a large, irregularly shaped asteroid covered in strange, luminescent patterns. Dr. David Hunt, fascinated by the possibility of discovering new forms of life, insisted on leading the investigation. "Captain, this could be the discovery of a lifetime," David said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Captain Blake nodded, her curiosity piqued. "All right, David, you, Rachel, and Sam suit up and prepare for a surface expedition. Be cautious and stay in constant communication." The team donned their Ava suits and boarded the shuttle. As they descended towards the asteroid, the luminescent patterns pulsed rhythmically, casting an eerie glow. Upon landing, they exited the shuttle and began their exploration. "These patterns are unlike anything I've seen," Rachel remarked, scanning the surface with her equipment. "They're emitting a faint bioelectric signal." David approached a particularly bright section of the asteroid, his gloved hand reaching out to touch it. As he made contact, a small, organic pod attached to the surface burst open, releasing a cloud of spores. David inhaled sharply, stumbling back. "David, are you all right?" Sam asked, concern in his voice. David nodded, waving him off. "I'm fine. Just startled. Let's collect some samples and get back to the ship." Unbeknownst to the team, the spores had already begun their insidious work. Back on the Stellar Pioneer, David felt increasingly unwell. He attributed his symptoms to exhaustion and the stress of the mission. But as hours turned into days, his condition worsened. He experienced severe headaches, muscle spasms, and vivid hallucinations. Dr. Anna Martinez examined him thoroughly. "David, your symptoms are concerning. I need to run some tests." David nodded weakly, too exhausted to protest. As Anna drew his blood and conducted scans, she noticed something alarming. His cells were rapidly mutating, integrating with an unknown organism. "This can't be right," Anna muttered, running the tests again. The results were the same. A parasitic organism was taking over David's body at an alarming rate. Anna immediately informed Captain Blake. "Emma, we have a serious problem. David is infected with an alien parasite. It's spreading fast, and I don't know how to stop it." Captain Blake's face hardened. "Quarantine him. We can't risk this spreading to the rest of the crew." "And Anna, work with Rachel to find a way to counter this. We can't lose him." David was isolated in the med bay, his condition deteriorating rapidly. The parasite was not only taking over his body but also his mind. He experienced horrifying visions, his thoughts becoming increasingly erratic and violent. Despite Anna and Rachel's efforts, the parasite continued to spread within David. The organism was highly adaptable, evading their attempts to combat it. David's pleas for help grew more desperate as the parasite's hold tightened. "Please, you have to kill me," he begged during a moment of lucidity, "before it spreads to the others." Anna shook her head, tears in her eyes. "We can't do that, David. We're going to find a way to save you." But the parasite had other plans. It began to use David's body to further its spread. Tiny spores, released from his skin, infiltrated the ship's ventilation system. Soon, other crew members started to exhibit symptoms, headaches, dizziness, and strange visions. Captain Blake called an emergency meeting. "We have to contain this before it's too late. We need to quarantine the infected and seal off the affected areas." The crew worked tirelessly to implement the captain's orders, but the parasite was relentless. One by one, more crew members fell ill, the organism taking hold with terrifying speed. As the parasite spread, the stellar pioneer descended into chaos. Fear and paranoia took root, with crew members distrusting one another. The onsiCosiv team began to fracture, their unity eroded by the unseen threat. Dr. Anna Martinez, while tending to the infected, accidentally pricked her finger with a contaminated needle. She felt the parasite invade her bloodstream almost instantly. Desperate to find a cure, she isolated herself in the med bay, working feverishly even as the organism took hold. "Anna, you need to rest," Rachel urged, her voice filled with concern. Anna shook her head, her eyes bloodshot and frantic. "No time. Must find a cure before it consumes us all." Meanwhile, Captain Blake and Lieutenant Carter worked to maintain order and prevent further spread. They implemented strict quarantine protocols, but the parasite was relentless. Crew members succumbed to its influence, their behavior growing increasingly erratic and violent. David, now fully controlled by the parasite, broke free from his restraints and attacked other crew members, spreading the infection further. The ship, once a beacon of exploration and hope, became a battleground of survival and horror. Chapter 5. The Last Stand. With the parasite's grip tightening, Captain Blake knew they were running out of time. She and the remaining uninfected crew members devised a plan to isolate the source of the parasite and destroy it. "Rachel, we need to understand the organism's life cycle," Emma said. "How does it spread? What's its weakness?" Rachel nodded, her face grim. "From what I've gathered, the parasite relies on bioelectric signals to communicate and control its hosts. If we can disrupt those signals, we might be able to weaken it." Sam Carter, the ship's engineer, suggested using the ship's power core to generate a massive electromagnetic pulse, EMP. It might disrupt the parasite's control long enough for us to eradicate it. The plan was risky, but it was their only hope. The crew prepared the power core, knowing that activating the EMP would likely cripple the ship's systems and leave them stranded in deep space. As they worked, the infected crew members, driven by the parasite's will, launched a desperate attack. The uninfected fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. "Hold them off as long as you can," Emma shouted, her voice resolute. "We have to give Sam enough time to activate the EMP." The battle was fierce and brutal. Captain Blake and her team defended the power core with everything they had, knowing that failure was not an option. As the infected closed in, Sam completed the final adjustments and activated the EMP. A blinding flash of light filled the ship, followed by a deafening silence. The parasite's bioelectric signals were disrupted, and the infected collapsed, their bodies convulsing as the organism's hold was broken. The stellar pioneer, now adrift in the cold void of space, was a shadow of its former self. The EMP had disabled most of the ship's systems, leaving the surviving crew stranded and facing an uncertain future. Captain Emma Blake surveyed the wreckage, her heart heavy with grief and exhaustion. They had survived the parasite's onslaught, but the cost had been high. Of the original 12 crew members, only a handful remained. Rachel, battered but alive, approached Emma. "We did it, Captain. We stopped the parasite." Emma nodded, her face etched with sorrow. "But at what cost? We've lost so many. And we're stranded." Sam Carter, ever the optimist, joined them. "We'll find a way, Captain. We always do." As the survivors worked to restore the ship's systems and send a distress signal, they knew their ordeal was far from over. The universe was vast and filled with unknown dangers, but they had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Together, they vowed to continue their mission, to honor the fallen, and to protect humanity from the horrors lurking in the cosmos. The fight for survival and discovery would go on, no matter the cost.